Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon and I am rank 1 Syndra, and so we're going to talk about the build, we're going to talk about how the abilities work, and we're going to talk about how to play the champion by going over a Syndra game and explaining the basics of Syndra. So if you guys are interested in this rank 1 Syndra guide, definitely stay tuned and let's get right into it. Okay, so starting off with the item build, every single time you're going to go Mana Boots and Infinity Orb. And then after that, you're going to go Soul Stealer in 95% of games. The only time that you're not going to go Soul Stealer is if the enemy have an absurd amount of shields, in which case you will go for second item Trident, as you can see here. But 95% of the time, Soul Stealer. And you're always going to go Death Cap third, no matter what. And then here is where the items will become a bit different. So fourth item, Crown of the Shattered Queen is going to be your default. It's really good if the enemy have a lot of CC, a lot of aggressive champions, and you need some survivability. And again, you can default to it if you don't know what else to go. However, if the enemy have a lot of shields, but not so many that you need at second item, you'll go fourth item Trident. If the enemy have a bunch of healing, you're going to go Morello's fourth item. And then fifth item, it can be, again, any of these things. So let's say you went Morello's because they had a lot of healing, but now you don't have anything specific you need now, then you'll go for Crown. Well, let's say you went Crown fourth, and you don't have anything specific you need to go for, then you'll go Horizon Focus because it's the most damage overall. Let's say that you need both anti-shield and anti-heal, you'll go anti-shield fourth, anti-heal fifth. So overall, again, Infinity Orb, Soul Stealer, Death Cap, almost always, unless you really need anti-shield. Then after that, you're deciding between needing anti-shield, anti-heal, or just a bit more defensive power from Crown. And if you don't need any of those things, you go for Horizon Focus for the most damage. But again, the very simple default build is going to be these first 5 items almost every game. A lot of times people ask about Ludens. Don't go Ludens. Generally just a worse first item than Infinity Orb, and doesn't really work better than any of these later items. You don't really want it almost ever. Now going into the runes never change. I promise you these runes are disgustingly broken. First Strike, Sweet Tooth, Transcendence, Seed Jar, and Gathering Storm. The reason you go for these runes is because First Strike gives you so much gold and a bunch of burst damage. Seed Jar plus Sweet Tooth gives you an insane amount of gold. If you don't know how Seed Jar works, when you kill the plants, so when you kill like the honey fruit, when you kill the blast cone, when you kill the vision plant, you get that plant once it's 2 minutes or onward. So when you're 2 minutes or later into the game, you get that plant so you can spawn another one. So with Sweet Tooth, you get 45 gold per honey fruit that you kill. Like, you know, if you kill the whole, or if you eat all 3 of the fruits. And then you can print another one, get an additional 45 gold. You print an absurd amount of gold with this, so it's really OP. Transcendence is really good for your ability haste, and then Gathering Storm helps your scaling. Always go these runes. I promise you, anyone running any other runes or telling you to do anything else is stupid, and I hate them. So yeah. And then for your spells, obviously flash every time. Then you choose between a couple different spells. So you go Cleanse if they have a bunch of CC, Exhaust if they have a bunch of burst damage and assassins, and then Barrier if they just have a bunch of poke and they have no CC, no assassins. Cleanse is going to be the most common, most default, but you can go for the Exhaust in the situations we said, and then Barrier every once in a while, but it is pretty rare. Don't really recommend any others. So that's it for the build. Now let's get into the abilities. Okay, so starting off with Syndra's abilities and passive. So the way her passive works is every time you hit an ability, you get a stack, and then every time that you upgrade any ability, you get 4, or every time you level up, you upgrade an ability, you get 4 stacks. So basically, every 20 stacks, starting at 40 stacks, gives you an evolve on ability. So you can evolve one ability at level 40 or at 40 stacks, then 60, 80, 100, and then finally at 120 stacks you get 12% ability power. So starting off with her abilities, then her first ability is pretty straightforward. It basically is just a sphere that does damage, and then the ball remains on the ground for 6 seconds, and you can use the other abilities to kind of, you know, use that ball properly. And then when you upgrade it, or when you evolve it, you get an extra charge of your first ability. So again, first ability, very simple. Just does damage on the ground like that, and then leaves a ball, as you can see, on the ground. So you do another one, you leave another ball on the ground, and then your other abilities can use that ball. So starting off with the second ability, it grabs the nearest ball, or dark sphere, and then it hurls it at a target and dealing damage. It does more damage if you're hurling a ball, but if there is no ball, then it'll make its own ball that does 80% damage like that. So there, it just made its own ball, and then you can see now there's a ball on the ground, so it uses that ball. So this is useful to know, because let's say that I have a ball on the ground right here. It'll take it and throw it. It takes longer to charge, or to like, you know, go. But if the ball's already on top of someone, it instantly blows up. So it's nice to make sure you use that after there's already a ball on someone. I'm just checking, that's all, yeah. And then when you evolve it, you get 12% true damage on this ability. Then we have the third ability, which is just a cone knockback, and I believe that's all it is. Sometimes I have to read these abilities to make sure there's not something I'm missing, but yeah, it's just a cone knockback. And then the only other important thing to note about the knockback is you can actually use a ball and then throw the ball at someone with the knockback. So here, if there's a ball on the ground right here, I use it, I throw it at someone, and it stuns them. And we'll talk more about this in the combos portion. But basically, if there's a ball on someone, either right on them, it'll stun them, or if it's just like here, you use that, you throw it at them. Pretty straightforward. And then we have the ultimate, which takes some balls on the ground. We'll read here. Again, it manipulates the three balls that are circling her, and then up to the 4 more nearby, dealing more damage per sphere, and then does more damage. And then when you evolve it, the range of it increases, and it will execute any champion below 10% health. So yeah, pretty straightforward. I think with all of that, I think the explanation is pretty self-explanatory. And then now we will get into the evolves. Again, just showing you here, so you can see here. The evolve order is going to be first, then second, then third, and then ultimate. You can choose, but that's what you're going to do. You're going to do your first ability, then your second ability, then your third ability. And the same is going to be true for your max order and your upgrade order. So you're going to go very straightforward. Upgrade the first ability, then second, then third. Max first, second, third, and evolve first, second, third. It's all very straightforward. As you can see here, now you get 2 charges on your ability there. And then we'll quickly get some charges here. This just gives true damage. And then again, I'm just evolving it quickly by hitting these people. And then here you get the big cone on your third ability evolve. And then the final evolve that you'll actually visually see is going to be the ultimate evolve, where now you get longer range and it would execute someone below a certain HP. And then again, 120 stacks and you get the bonus 12% AP. And then now we're going to go into the combos of Syndra. So again, keep in mind, ideal combo in terms of damage early game, you're going to first ability, wait for the ball to get placed on the ground, then you're going to third ability, second ability, or you can, for the most damage, make sure it's on the ground, then second ability it towards someone, and then third ability. The reason that you want to wait for it to fully hit the ground is because then the second ability does more damage, but usually this is going to take too long, and I don't actually recommend this most of the time. Most of the time, what I actually recommend doing is typically second ability, third ability, first ability, like that. That's going to be the typical combo early game. That's a bit better. And then once you've evolved your first ability, now you're going to switch from second ability, third ability, first ability to first ability, second ability. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. Okay. You're going to switch from second ability, third ability, first ability to first ability, third ability, second ability, and then another first ability, because you have, again, the evolve now where you get 2 spheres. So because of the fact that now you have 2 first abilities early game, once you do get it evolved, you want to now use the first ability to initiate combos, whereas early game you use the second ability to initiate combos for the additional speed. So that's going to be typically how it works. A couple other combos, and keep in mind, obviously you can use your ult to follow these combos, so I could use first ability, second ability, third ability, ult, of course. It's pretty straightforward, but kind of the main thing to keep in mind is you're using either your first or second ability, then your third ability, then the other ability to follow up, then your ultimate to get kind of max damage. You can also use your third ability plus flash to get a stun on someone. Pretty rare you're going to use this, but it does work every once in a while. But again, main thing to kind of keep in mind is the first ability, third ability, second ability, first ability, or once you get the evolve, and then use the second ability, then the first ability if you are early game. And then again, if you're just looking for max damage, you wait till the first ability actually creates a ball on the ground, then use your second ability. But that's usually not enough damage to really care, but because it's like too slow, but it is something to keep in mind. I know I didn't explain that the best, but I think you guys kind of got the gist of it overall. And that is really it. I mean, her combos are pretty straightforward. Again, obviously, if you have a ball on the ground, you can use it to third ability and kind of hit someone. And then if there's multiple people in an area, you make sure you have a ball on the ground, then you come close to them and you hit multiple people at once with your third ability. That's overall kind of going to be the gist of it. And then now lastly, we're going to get into a Syndra gameplay explaining exactly how to play her throughout different parts of the game. Okay, so I did forget to explain 2 combos. So if you want to type Talon's a stupid idiot and I'm really mad at him in the comments, you can do that. I do get it because I am a stupid idiot who didn't explain all the combos to you guys, but I will do that now. So the first combo to talk about as I disable this bot is the wave clear combo. So the typical wave clear combo is just third ability, first ability, second ability. That's all it is. You just want to group all the minions together with third ability, first ability, and second ability, and then you can clear all of them at once. In that case, I missed them, but generally, you're going to be able to hit all 4 at once. Just don't miss like me. And then the other combo that's important is use your first ability and then immediately evolve your first ability. So doing this gives you an additional first ability because as you evolve it, you immediately get 2 charges. So watch here. So here, I'm going to first ability, then I'll evolve it. I immediately get 2 more first abilities. So you can do that for really quick damage. There I had the 0 CD on, but it still like will give you the extra 2 abilities. It's a lot faster. So those are the 2 main combos again, third ability, then first ability, second ability to wave clear quick by grouping all the minions together. Let me make myself invincible quick and then show you guys again. But yeah, basically you go here, third ability, I need to go a little further. So third ability, then all that, group them together, boom, they die really quick like that. And then again, make sure you use the first ability, then you evolve your first ability to get 2 additional quick charges. And yeah, now we'll get into the gameplay. All right, so then getting right into it, we're going to start off with what you want to be doing in the early game as Syndra. So most of the time in the early game, your main goal is to get stacks, find a recall after the 3rd or 4th wave in order to get mana boots, come back to lane, quickly push a wave, and then maybe look for a roam angle there, or just continue stacking in lane based on what looks good in the game. So it's a very simple approach to most lanes. As you can see here again, obviously I do get outranged a bit by Victor's laser early on in the game. But the main thing is, wait for the enemy to walk up for a last hit, go up for a first ability, just like I did there, and you're almost always going to hit it. So again, whenever they want to walk up for a last hit, I look for a first ability. In this case, they just made it easy to land it. And so I'm pretty okay with actually losing trades a bit, if that means that I get the stacks. So again here, if he's going to walk up, I'm looking for it. Does he walk up? He uses his ability. Now he walks up, so I end up going for the trade. In that case, I use my first ability to make sure I guarantee the last hit. And then again, the enemy walk up, I look for the first ability. Now here, I did mess it up and I missed one. But the same, rule applies. Every time he walks up, I'm looking for abilities. Here again, I'm missing them again. Honestly, pretty poorly played by me compared to normal. And the main reason for that is just a bit of panic. Like I'm over kind of forcing things, as you can kind of see here, because of the fact that we're losing some trades. But at the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing over and over. It's just, again, the enemy walk up for a last hit, go for first ability, go for second ability, third ability if it's up 2. Honestly, playing this really bad so far, though, this lane phase. Missing a lot of last hits, whatever, but it is what it is. I'm totally fine showing you guys games where I kind of, mess up too or make dumb mistakes. But again, anytime he's walking up for a last hit, I should just be punishing. Again, same thing. He walks up for a last hit, I get 3 abilities on him. And it's pretty much the same cycle every time. Even in lanes where you do end up, losing trades or falling behind, it really doesn't matter. Because all you're doing is recalling once you have mana boots. So you can see here, I played that lane very poor, as you can see. And I am dead even in gold. Partially because of a little bit of first strike gold, but I only got 18. And then we got mana boot recall. We have decent stacking, 24 stacks to level 4.5, completely fine. And then we get back to the lane before the enemy has even fully crashed the wave. So you're just constantly looking for this. It's just play the first 3 waves out, just play to poke them a bunch. Obviously do a better job than I did there. Make sure you wait for the enemy to walk up for last hits. Don't miss as many abilities as me, which is obviously very easy advice. And then you get back to the lane first. And now here, I get back to the lane before him, which means that I can push the lane before him, have control over the lane. Then when he comes back, I can walk up to punish his last hits or anything like that. Again, it's a very easy kind of early game. So there again, I hit my first and second ability, missed my third ability, totally fine. If the enemy walk up again, I'm obviously in this case trying to prioritize making sure I get the plate. And then in that case, the enemy end up flashing out. And because they flashed out, we can kind of try to zone them off of some abilities. They use their ultimate. Obviously totally fine with us. And then we just go again for the wave clear, very straightforward here. And yeah, he's stuck in lane at low health. And why is he stuck in lane at low health? Because he wasn't able to get a recall off as quick as us. Obviously, our jungle helping out makes it very, very nice. But him not getting the recall means he didn't have control over the wave, means he couldn't push it fast enough, means he's in a position to get ganked. And then all we do is we just find another recall around, usually Prophet's Pendant, which is the 1,000 gold component you just saw me buy there. So again, usually first 3-4 waves, poke the enemy, get as many stacks as possible. Doesn't matter that much if we win or lose the trades. Mostly just focusing on crashing the 3rd or 4th wave and getting those stacks up. Recall mana boots, come back to lane, get control over the wave. Do the same thing again, recall on Pendant, come back to lane, same thing again, and then boom, you're into the mid game. Usually, ideally you're going to be at minimum 40 stacks. Usually you're going to be a lot closer to 60 stacks. I find it very common that right around Dragon I'll be hitting 60 stacks, which gives me my second evolve, and that is definitely the most common thing. Victor is definitely one of those matchups that you can sometimes have a bit more of an issue into. Nothing crazy, but definitely a bit more. And then here is a trick with my first ability that I do want to mention as well, where if you have your first ability evolve, make sure that you're waiting to evolve it until you use an ability. Because if you use your first ability, then immediately evolve your first ability, you get 2 free first abilities, as you kind of saw me do there. So I use my first ability, then I evolve it, I have 2 more first abilities. And that's a really nice trick for getting a kill. And then in this case, we nearly get the solo kill on him. We force his ult out. And again, we have kind of the pressure over the lane. We're getting good poke, all those types of things. And then I'm able to easily sustain with the fruit here, as you can see. So utilizing that trick in lane and just getting a bunch of free stacks off it is really important. And then also using the wave clear combo where you third ability and to group all the minions together, and then you first and second ability to clear the minions. That's also a really important wave clear combo to kind of utilize as well. So just keep that in mind when you are playing Syndra, that combo is going to be very effective, as Xin Zhao does unfortunately die there. Not the end of the world though. Again, we're just focusing on getting control over the wave, and as you can see here, we're now at 56 stacks, so we're 4 stacks from our second ability evolved, and obviously, you know, in this case, it wasn't an ideal early game, and we're still able to get that. And then for some reason my teammate goes and fights here, but again, my goal with this fight is really just stacks. Like, I want to make that very clear. When you see me doing these types of things, sometimes I'm just looking for stacks and nothing else. We got 3 stacks out of that. I don't really care about getting poked a little bit. The early game's purpose is to get stacks, hit your item spikes, farm up, and be able to carry the later parts of the game. Sometimes your teammates are going to win the early game, sometimes they're going to lose it, but you're always going to get your stacks, you're always going to get your items, and that's really kind of the purpose of Syndra. You see again the wave clear combo there, instantly one-shotting that wave so I can run away and recall immediately. Getting my second ability evolve at 550, a little later than normal, but still decent. And yeah, even though the team really isn't doing well here, as long as we're able to get those certain, you know, kind of power spikes, we're able to get those evolves, we're always going to have a chance at winning, and that is really the strength of Syndra. So again, understanding the purpose of the early game, what's the main purpose? The purpose is stacks, find your proper recall on your timers of the mana boots and dependent and such. Here I do kind of mess up, go a bit greedy, but not the end of the world. I'm able to get more stacks out of it, but I do lose flash. Definitely a mistake by me. Shouldn't have walked up there. And then yeah, using that wave clear combo to again get kind of good control over the waves, stuff like that. Those are really the things you need to pay attention to early game. And then once you get to the mid game, your main goal before mana boots is to push your wave quickly in mid lane, or not before mana boots, before Baron, sorry. Your main goal before Baron is to push your mid wave. Once you push your mid wave, go to a side lane, try to get gold from there. Then push that, you know, once you push that side lane out, you go back, you go mid, and you kind of cycle back and forth between mid and between top or bot or wherever it is. So in this case, for example, I want to cover bot lane because my teammate is dead there. Once I push out bot lane, I want to then push out mid lane potentially and kind of go back and forth in a pretty easy, you know, way. So what do I do here? I just go, I use my instant wave clear, I poke him out a bit to get some stacks, I get the fruit for even more free gold, and I print more fruit, and then because there is another wave about to come, I do stick around for an additional wave. And then after the wave, I want to rotate back towards mid lane. It looks like it is lagging a bit here. And again, you can see I'm just stacking off the tank for free. Like, he's giving me a bunch of free abilities on him, so I just stack on him. That's also a common thing to do in the side lane, is just stack as much as you possibly can. And then again, sometimes, you know, in this case, for example, your mid laner or your bot laner ends up covering mid. In that case, you can stick around a bit longer. You don't have to overforce anything, and then again, just focus on that wave clear. As long as you're covering one lane, that's good, and then anytime you can cover multiple lanes, that's obviously optimal. But in a game like this, where it's not going as well, you're not always going to have the agency to cover multiple lanes, so that's why sometimes you end up getting stuck here for a bit longer, which is fine, because eventually you'll just find an opportunity to actually get a recall off or to rotate. And that's all you're really looking for. So this is a case where now that I push that off, or push that wave, I can now recall, and then I can find a way back into potentially mid lane, or in this case, potentially top lane, because my teammate's covering mid. I'm not just going to stay in bot lane forever, so I do get a couple waves pushed out there. And then now I give myself an opportunity to rotate top side because my teammate pushed mid. And again, I pushed out that bot wave earlier, so now I have, again, this brief opportunity where I can look for something, my teammate gets a nice engage, and then we're able to, again, use our pretty basic combo of second ability, first ability, third ability, and then get the ultimate off there, as you see. And all of that leads to us then being able to get the turret and follow up with our team, which is usually kind of what you want to be doing when you are behind. You kind of want to be overstacking lanes with, multiple members so that you can at least get an advantage somewhere, getting those turrets, kind of playing around that type of thing, and then again cycling between the lanes when you can to get multiple waves. So I got the bot wave, recalled, went top, got that top kill. Now I'm going mid, making sure I get this mid wave. And then what do I do right after mid? I go cycle down to bot lane. So I'm just trying to, again, in the mid game, get as much gold as possible from as many sources as possible, whether it's kills, whether it's, again, just stacking my first strike and such, whether it's getting a wave, whatever it really is. In this case, I do find myself back to mid lane because there was obviously like a fight in this case, so it will depend. And then the Senna here kind of gives me an opportunity to get some damage on her. And so we do end up killing her, I believe. Yeah, Nautilus ends up getting the kill. And again, we push this mid wave out. At this point, the dragon is up, so we're going to take a recall, get right onto that dragon. And at this point, when I'm playing a team fight, I'm generally just waiting for the enemy to kind of come into me. So I'm just like waiting, for them to engage and then looking for some type of combo. Again, the first ability, third ability, second ability combo. Pretty much what I'm looking for, but I'm kind of waiting for my team to engage. But at this point, I kind of realized like, hey, my team's not going to fight and they're not strong enough to fight. So I'm just going to go cover a side lane instead. Because again, what's my main purpose? It's just to get gold. So that's exactly what we kind of do. We don't need to over prioritize the dragon. And then once we get into the, the time where the Baron spawns at 12 minutes, then we'll look to group mid lane and kind of cover the Baron side of the map. But for the time being, the goal again is mainly to get gold. So we push this bottom lane wave. We end up getting some free stacks again on this Malphite. And then even though we're in a position to die here, the only purpose was to get gold from the waves and to get stacks from the bottom lane if anybody did rotate, which is exactly what we do. And that's just, again, what you need to understand. Very selfish playstyle with this champion up until the Baron, where you're just prioritizing your own gold, your own stacks, your own everything. And when you can, when you're behind, you might want to prioritize pushing out waves and possibly playing around gold bounties or turrets, that type of thing. And so again, this isn't an early game that goes well. This is quite a bad early game for our team. I didn't play my lane phase super well. And even despite all that, I'm still right around the same pacing of all of the enemy members. I'm 8.7k gold. A lot of them are around 9k. Which means as a scaling champion, I'm still in an entirely realistic spot to carry the game. And again, if any of these things went well, I got kills, my teammates weren't doing as bad, we're gonna obviously be doing much better. But regardless, I'm at my 100 stack mark right before Baron, which means I can execute people with my ultimate. It has longer range, that type of thing. But yeah, this is pretty much like the worst early game you could have, which is, again, I kind of like showing these types of games where things go wrong, because it just makes it a bit, better. Because you guys can play games when you get fed. Like, everyone knows how to do that. So I want to show you guys what to do in a game where, your teammates aren't doing well, your game's not going well, that type of thing. And so again, here, the Malphite does kind of engage on us, so we end up just having to back off with our cleanse and everything. The main thing to understand when you're in this type of game as well is trying to prevent Baron is kind of a big goal. Like, the longer you can stall out Baron or potentially steal Baron, the better. So in this case, even if the enemy are in the spot where they're doing a lot and they're pushing or whatever, as long as I'm able to get some poke off, continue hitting my stacks, and dissuade them from doing Baron, I am generally going to be pretty happy. So that's kind of the main thing that I'm looking for at this point in the game. And so I'm just hoping, that my team walks up. I'm using my third ability to get vision. And since they're not on the Baron, we're kind of fine with just zoning them. And then at this point, this is what we're looking for. This is a very common thing you're going to find yourself doing in the mid game as a Syndra, is trying to zone the enemy off Baron. Your champion is very good at stealing, so you're definitely going to be looking for a lot of combos. Again, you just use your first ability, third ability, second ability combo, and you can steal a lot. And in this case, the enemy will often overforce and try to get off of the Baron and chase you because they know that you might steal. And in that case, you're just going to play this fight in a very easy way like we did here. Again, just pretty much throwing your combos on people whenever they put themselves in a harm's way. Just getting a bunch of poke on them and really not putting yourself in much danger over the wall. So you're very happy when people walk into you. And then here I'm kind of camping him. I believe we do it. Yeah, we do end up killing him there. Didn't even need our ultimate, but used it anyway. And so this is where we start to kind of turn the game around. You see, like, again, it's very hard to do much into a Syndra. She can zone you off a lot of objectives. She can poke you really well, so you got to be really careful playing into her. And that's one of the reasons that she is so strong. So much zone control, so much burst damage, Then you hit that death cap with full stacks like I am at this point, and you're going to be able to carry pretty much any game, even when your team isn't doing super well. So like even though we're still behind, I use my second ability for vision. And at this point, again, pretty much just looking to walk into fights with my team. If they find a pick on someone, I'll just use my poke on them, and we'll be pretty happy. So again, there we're able to one-shot the Syndra, for example, with the same combo that we've talked about the entire time. And now my team starts it, and I'm just looking to zone them to make sure the enemy can't really walk in. Using my first ability for some damage on it, and then yeah, if the enemy ever walk in, they're just going to be screwed because of all my zone control. So we're able to get the Baron for free, zone them off, go back to get the bot wave, recall, and then go for the dragon potentially. So again, very, very nice here, as you saw. And this is, again, very common. Like it's very likely that you will be in a situation where maybe your early game won't go well because you do have to play kind of selfish, but then you'll find these angles later on in the game where the enemy will overextend, or where you're able to get, you know, a pick on them. And then once you hit your item spikes, you're pretty much able to carry, again, with a kind of any team. So here I'm kind of using the blast cone vision. I'm a little late to the fight, but I did just hit 3.5 items. So I am very strong. And then control of the mid wave when you're going into objectives is very important. So I end up using the control of the mid wave to make the enemy walk into us, because they do have to go on that wave. And then we're able to kind of split them up, which makes it very easy to find this double kill onto the enemy there, because they were split up again. So we're just able to poke them out. And I may get the one kill onto the Vi, but we're able to kind of poke out 2 people. And again, just using that mid wave to make sure the enemy have to walk into you. Very, very effective kind of thing to do with your time. And now at this point, I'm just looking for a pick on someone anytime they walk up. So I'm just seeing if I can find a one-shot angle, which is why you kind of see me looking at Victor like this. Just if he does walk up, I'll look for him. And then over the wall, I see Malphite's getting engaged on by my teammates. So again, same combo, first, third, second, ult first, and boom, we one-shot him. Very straightforward. Now we can get this mid turret for free. And yeah, at this point, I mean, you've kind of seen what I've been doing throughout the games. Again, I'm just focusing on myself. Once we get to 12 minutes, then we control mid wave, we poke people off, we play in that way, and we're usually able to, again, it's a very consistent, very easy play style, and it works really, really well. Like, the enemy usually have very little counterplay to it. Here, we end up getting our ult onto the Vi. 1 HP, unfortunately, we don't kill them. But again, the enemy can't really walk into us. Like, you can see what happens when they walk into us. We just get an absurd amount of poke on them. And yeah, I mean, this is a game, again, where our team isn't actually doing that well. But we're still able to do all this. So now at this point, we have 4.5 items. We're very, very strong. And so now we're just looking to, again, control that mid wave, control the side around the objective. And then once the objective spawns, we look to get that to end the game. Again, just zone control, constantly controlling sides of the map that are on the objectives you want in the later parts of the game, making sure the enemy have to come into you, and then following up on your teammate's CC whenever you can. And again, there's the wave clear combo. So you can do either third ability first second or first third second on the wave to clear it. Whatever works. You just need to make sure you group all the minions together again, and then you're going to be in a good spot from there. So since the Elder is the next objective spawning, kind of making sure to zone this side of the map, make sure we get control there, and just not let the enemy really walk into us. They all kind of do show bot side, so we know that we have some time to control this. And now if the enemy do walk into us, we're just going to go on them. As you see here, the Vi kind of gets one shot. We do find the kill onto her. And yeah, now we're just, again, using our abilities on them anytime they walk forward. Nothing too complicated. And the enemy are kind of screwed here. I look for the flash combo onto them to zone off the misfortune. And now at this point, again, as long as we zone them off the objective, we're chilling. I do get kind of low from that Victor, but I have the honey fruit to kind of heal me up. And then I'm just looking over the side wall here. I see them go forward. So we end up going on to them. And yeah, again, same combo you see me use over and over. I do miss one ability, but we're still able to kill her nonetheless. And then we chase down the final one and look to end the game from that. And we kill the Victor there. So again, that's kind of the main, that's the gist of Syndra. I just wanted to make this guide explaining how a rank 1 player plays Syndra. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I do coaching for $25 an hour. Just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord server as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video.